Great. So, good morning, everyone. We are streaming live on Facebook. I'm here with Lawrence Cain Jr., the author of the book that we're talking about today, which is Money Seeds, the 15 Business Principles. I have a copy right here. Here it is. It is 53 pages, and it's not a very long read, obviously, but I brought this to you all today because we want to talk about how to grow our businesses and how to make a lot of money and how to recover from this pandemic. So we're going to be here for about 30 minutes today. And we also have another show at 6 o'clock back here on the Cincinnati Herald Live. And that's going to be one of our other hosts, John Reese. And he's going to be here with an actress talking about her new play, which is called Laid Off. And I think that's something that some of us can probably relate to right now. So tune in for 30 minutes and catch that. And originally, we had this episode scheduled to be on the radio, but now we're doing this virtually because of the pandemic. And a lot of things are changing because of the pandemic. So 15 business principles or the 15 principles of business. What are your top 3 principles that you would pick right now compared to the principles that you may have focused on 6 months ago or a year ago?
For sure. So first off, thanks for having me. Definitely appreciative of it. I'm glad we were able to still do it, given the times that we're in. To answer your question, there are the real principles that, even before this pandemic happened, the principles are all of them actually, but the main 3 are principle number 1, which is give every dollar purpose. Mm-hmm. When you talk about your cash flow from a business perspective, you definitely have to give every dollar purpose, especially a small business. You have to track the revenue and make sure that you're not just spending money, that you're utilizing the money. The second one is principle number 6. Take care of your customers so they can take care of you. Yeah, I think with the pandemic, man, we have to kind of reflect on what's gotten us here. What really makes you money? And somebody always has to tell you yes. There's no such thing to me as a self-made millionaire. Like, that's just, somebody has to tell you yes, even if you're the one that created the product, the service. So we have to get back to that and make sure that we're providing value right now, because no matter what industry you're in, value is essential, right? Like, it doesn't matter if you're in the finance industry, you're in sales, you're in retail. If you're not valuable and if you're not providing value, then it doesn't matter to the end consumer. And then the last one is principle number 13. Don't let your limits limit you. And that's actually my favorite one. That's, and that's dealing with life, right? Before this, we were all busy, and, we always used to say there's not enough hours in the day. And now we have a lot of hours in the day, but you just have to move a certain way, and still stick to, I'll call it tasks over time. So not really getting so caught up in time management, but task management. Right. You know what you need to do. You just need to make sure you do it. So those are my favorite principles from the book.
And I really like the one, principle number 5, learn your business season. I think that really can just go into everything right now, especially with this pandemic, because there's going to be downtimes, even if you didn't have this pandemic, even if we weren't, doing things out of the norm right now, it's normal to have a downtime. It's normal to have time where you're not making a lot of money, where your business is a little bit slow, where you're trying to get new customers. How can we balance that against something like this? How do we learn to really learn our business season?
You just have to understand where your marketplace is, right? How are people digesting what you do? How can you still serve your people, right? You look at somebody that has a clothing line. I know local entrepreneurs that are, still taking orders, and what they're doing is setting up a specific location for pickup, right? The post office is still open, so you can obviously still ship things. It may take a little longer, but you can still do that. So, being able to provide that. We're in this virtual space, right? Virtual was something that has been around. Zoom has been around. Most people knew what Skype was, but they probably didn't use it. But essentially, these things have now came into play where business still needs to be, happen. Learning still needs to happen. And being in capitalism, you have to understand that just because you can't do it the way you're accustomed to, you just have to learn how to pivot. And that's what we have seen during this pandemic, is people are pivoting. It's creating it's going to create more opportunity for those who understand how to pivot in their business. For a lot of entrepreneurs such as myself, I was doing a lot of in-person meetings, in-person workshops, going to schools and doing workshops with the schools. But now I'm doing that on a virtual scale, and actually trying to create a program to where now next year we won't even have to go to the school if they still open. Like we can now have the program to where you'll be able to take it without us having to be there. So it's just be optimistic and patient during this pandemic, so that you can come out on the other side better. And that doesn't necessarily mean learning a new skill or anything like that, but just taking time to do the things that you wanted to do.
Yeah, thank you. And that was one of my next questions, is what are you hearing from small business owners, and how are they pivoting, and how are they adjusting? You have some resources in the back of the book that I think have been really helpful, as far as like graphics and marketing and just things to really help you spread your business without needing to go out or without needing to know 1,000 people. And I think that's really important to know. How can I make this money within the limited resources that I have? And
absolutely,
that was one of your points that you made as well. You don't have to have 1 million clients to make $1 million.
Right. That's the number one thing. One of the things that I've been advocating for is creating and selling digital products. So I have a course on it. So, if you go to abundanceuniversity.net, it's the first link that you can click on there. But that course is really showing people, you can create an ebook, you can create an online course based on what you do, and I even had people in the beauty industry, ask me like, how can, what can I create? If you're a barber, if you're a stylist, you're a makeup artist, what you can do is create an ebook. It can be a 30-day self-care ebook, right? It can be, for people that's growing beards, or for natural women. You can create a 30-day guide on how to upkeep your hair during a pandemic, right? There was a lady that created an online course on how to create a mask, how to make your own mask. She made $10,000 in 30 days.
Wow.
From when she launched it, right? So instead of me buying a mask, people were buying a course on how to create the mask. So, it's things like that where, again, you just have to understand, what are you good at now? And what does that look like in the digital form? Is it an ebook? Is it an online course? Is it virtual coaching, right? You can share screens now and say, hey, I'm going to show you how to do XYZ. If you know how to create websites for people, let's say they don't have the money for you to create it, you can teach them how to create their own website using Wix or Weebly or Squarespace. So that's the digital products that I think that's the most cost-effective way to still make money with doing what you're already doing and not feeling like you have to learn something new.
Okay, so now for most people, cost-effective is free. So we're going to go into principle number 8, which is don't be afraid to give away the milk to sell the cow. How do you convince people that mantra really works in a digital age where it seems easy to make money and everybody's like, well, I don't want to give away the milk because I can make money right now.
Absolutely. I think when people see my journey through entrepreneurship, we started with free workshops. My first year of business, a lot of people don't know, I didn't charge anything. I didn't charge for my workshops. I didn't charge to sit down with people one-on-one, the calls. But now we charge, right? So, it pays off. And when you if you really look at social media, everything is really free. You look at the internet, period. I can Google anything. I can YouTube anything and find a free video. Yeah. So if people are already going to Google it, YouTube it, it might as well be my information. Right. So that then they can look at me as the expert. And then when they're ready to actually pay for the services, then they can do that. Mm-hmm. So that's, you just have to understand that if you're valuable enough, people will pay. That's the bottom line.
Yep. Okay. You slid me right into the next principle again, which is to say your smile with a price.
Say your smile with a price.
How can you say your high price or your low price after a pandemic? How can you expect people to keep spending money with you?
Yeah, number one, it goes back to value, understanding who you are, and just let your work do the talk. Mm-hmm. But when I say your price with a smile, that goes back to a lot of people, don't know how much to charge, or they they don't feel as confident when they say their price, and they end up giving somebody a discount. Mm-hmm. Right. So that and sometimes it works, but oftentimes giving people a discount initially doesn't work, and it damages the ability to negotiate. Mm-hmm. Right. Perfect example is, I gave somebody my normal price for a program this summer, and they negotiated down. Mm-hmm. Well, that price works for me. Because I have my minimum. So, right. As long as it meets my minimum, I can continue to, say my regular price. And obviously, given the times, you may just have to, lower it a little bit. But right. That's based on that's a person by person. But you right. never go, and be confident. So mm-hmm. In order to do that, just, practice in the mirror, say it and look at yourself. And, it sounds crazy, but some people just aren't like, how much you charge? It's kind of whatever your budget is. Like, nah, yeah. Like, what do you charge? Like, how much do you want to get paid?
Right.
Like,
the budget might be $1.
Budget, it's just the saying, like, if I'm gonna lowball you if you let me.
Exactly.
Like, exactly. So, pay, charge what you're worth, not what you think people are willing to pay.
Mm-hmm. And principle number 10, double down on your strengths. I know that we have covered quite a few. There's some left. I don't want to give them all away because I want people to buy the book, and I want them Absolutely. To see these notes and these worksheets, because one thing that's really been helpful for me is if I look in there and I realize, oh, okay, I don't know how to do, principle number 10. I don't know my strength. So I'm going to at least write down my weaknesses, or, write down what I think I'm not the best at. So that way I've got to be good at something. Or someone else who's got to be good at something. And then you gave us some tips on how to find people who do know your strengths, or people who can fill in your weaknesses. How can you do that?
Absolutely. So, I think for those watching this and listening to this, you first need to know what your ultimate goal is, where you are now, and then what does it take to get there. And that will lay out, okay, what part do I play into it? And then who or what do I need to incorporate into this journey in order to get to that destination? So, I'm a big advocate for interns. And I think any small business owner that's looking at this, I challenge you to get at least 2 interns right now. These college students are still hungry for opportunity. Yeah, you may not be able to pay them. Maybe you can. That's awesome. But, give them something that they can take back to college, take back to their major with. So if you know somebody, whatever industry you're in, again, I'm in business, I'm in finance, I'm in entrepreneurship. So I have two interns. One is in, majoring in marketing. One is majoring in business. So I'm showing them the ropes. I'm going to help them create their own website with their first and last name, and show them how to really market themselves and how to create certain content. So that's number one, being able to reach out to the younger generation and help them. But number two, they're like I said in the book, there's resources in the back of the book. You may just need to again, go through some place like Fiverr to get a flyer made, or go, learn how to make Canva graphics to promote on social media. Get on YouTube and look at a video on how to create effective Facebook ads. Like, that's something that I'm gonna do this weekend. I'm gonna look at multiple videos and see if I can then execute on those things. But I think you just have to have a certain level of self-awareness that comes with your brand, because you can't do everything and you shouldn't want to do everything. Yeah. There's a ton of experts and people that are hungry for opportunity. So we need to connect with those people. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I thank you for saying that we need to connect with each other and don't try to do everything by yourself. Because once again, in this culture where we are becoming more independent and more creative, it seems like this heavy task to just do everything. I can do it. I can do my own marketing. I can do my own writing. I can do my own photography. But like you just said, there's people out there who are willing to help you. And then you also have the privilege to be able to teach them something. So if you all really work together, I think we could be surprised at how much we can build, rather than trying to everybody have this independent lifestyle or this independent culture. It's great to be able to create something for yourself, but you can bring somebody else in with you. And I think the book really helps you to understand that. And for me, I think anybody can get this book, even if it's not somebody with the business. A lot of these principles are things that are just going to help you in general. If you want to save money for a house, or if you want to, invest money for something down the line, these are just, like you said, little seeds to help you understand these are the steps I need to take to get me closer to that goal, especially if you felt like you had no idea. And you don't want to pick up, a 100-page book or a 300-page manual when you're first starting out, because that's really hard to understand. Absolutely. And it's really time consuming. So I just really appreciate the format of this book, because it's good for real people.
Right. Really want to. That was our whole vision for the Money Seeds program, is that we want to give away valuable content by way of online courses and books, but getting to the point, right? Like you just said, I've read, trust me, I mean, I'm looking at books right now that I read that are 4 or 5 times the size of my book, and it leaves, sometimes if you're not careful, it can leave you even more confused.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what is this? Why? You know what I mean? And what's the next step? It didn't give me anything, right? So that's why we create the principles. We then give you, lines that you can kind of get your thoughts, how do you use the principles, things of that nature. And then in the back of the book, we always put other books that you can read to kind of get more knowledge. And then also there's a, we talk about the different apps and stuff that we use, right? So again, that's giving away way more than what, it's crazy. I was literally on a call, I want to say yesterday or the day before. And literally it was somebody saying that they didn't want to, like, they didn't want to give away anything for free. And I was like, I mean, I respectfully disagree, but if that's what you want to do, you got to understand that, when you're on social media, you have to build credibility. You have to build that trust factor. Anytime somebody's going to spend money with you, it's totally different than with a, clothing line. Like, if it looks good, I'm going to get it. If I think it's going to make me, compliments my outfit, that's one thing. But when you're dealing with, coaching or, doing anything from a service perspective, people need to know that, number one, you're serious, and number
Right.
two, that they can trust you. You
Right.
know, I mean, people give me information that they don't even share with their spouses sometimes. So, I mean, you know, you have to value that. And I think I think people have it misconstrued about what to give away for free, right? You can give away what to do, why you should do it, testimonials, you know, just different valuable information that, you know, what's the benefit of being a client of yours. That's free content that people should make, but they don't, most people won't do that. They will literally you know, say, oh, I'm not gonna do it. So I just think, you know, at the end of the day, man, 5 years from now, we'll really be able to see who was giving value and who wasn't, you know, and you know, those people who weren't, that, you know, that we'll see them where they are.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we can all notice, even especially right now. Like I said, in this pandemic, a lot of things are being highlighted. So for like your major companies, you know, they've been able to outlast smaller companies or whatever industry they're in. And of course, for some reasons, it's just because they're a huge company. But for other ways, it's because they've really created a value in their product. And like you said, that's what's going to create that longevity. And this book, I think, is really going to help you understand like what is value. You know, how is a company like Gucci or Nike able to charge us what they charge, and we find it reasonable because we have a value. So I think if we look at it that way, then it's going to really help us to understand what is value and ask ourselves, well, why do I pay, you know, $80 for a sweater, or why do I pay $1,000 for a purse? You know, what is my value? And I think if we ask ourselves, how can we create that own kind of value in our business or our relationships or whatever, I think that's really going to help us. And I say that because this book, I think, just was super helpful beyond business.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if some people don't feel like, you know, again, it says 15 business principles. If they just want to get more, you know, information about you know, finances in general, you know, we have the first book installment, Money Seeds, you know, 30 financial principles. People, they're both available on my website, abundanceuniversity.net. They can get both copies. And you know, if people need to really sit down and create a plan for their finances, for their business, we do one-on-one coaching as well. We have 3-month plans, 6-month plans, 12-month plans. And if you just want a one-time meeting, that's fine. But ultimately, again, this is the time to really start laying down a new foundation, right? Like, I mean, obviously there's people listening, watching that has been in business for quite some time, but this pandemic has really shown me personally that there's a lot of other things that we can kind of do to make sure that we are our business is pandemic proof. You know, we need to start learning how to have cash reserves. That's something that we never are taught in business. You're taught to just make money, reinvest into the business, pay yourself. Those are like the 3 fundamental things that people are after. But cash reserves is a totally different thing that we don't talk about, which is basically a savings account for your business. You know, what if you can have a cash reserve of, you know, a year's worth of expenses, including paying yourself? That's something that we can start striving for and really start to understand what do those numbers look like, right? Some people don't know how much they spend in business per month, right? They don't, you know, there's apps like we talk about in the book, like QuickBooks Self-Employed, that can literally show you, and you can start having reports. You know, look at these reports monthly, create a day every single month to where you review your finances. Me and my wife was doing it every week. But during the pandemic, we've cut it down for just once a month because we communicate way more now since we're both in the house and we're not spending as much money. So, you know, but, you know, do what works for you. Do what works for your business. And always be on the same page with your business, with your finances, because if not, then things like the pandemic can kind of put you out of business or put you in a situation where you got to get debt.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not talking about like the PPP loan, but like real debt where it's like you can't, you know what I mean? We know the PPP loan is forgivable, like, but we don't want to get into consumer debt like credit cards and things of that nature because we weren't good to our money. So
yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time today, and I appreciate all of your feedback. And this book is very affordable. You all can go to his website that he mentioned, which is abundanceuniversity, right? .com?
.net. abundanceuniversity.net.
abundanceuniversity.net. Get online, get you a coaching session, get you a book, figure out how to pandemic proof your life for the rest of 2020. So y'all have a good Saturday. Lawrence, you have a good Saturday. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for having me.
Weekend.
Same to you. Take care.
Thank you. You too.